Hello there. In this video, we're going to look at the cost of debt component of the weighted average cost of capital. So let's get to this. So for cost of debt, or the interest on the loans of the company, we are going to measure the opportunity cost of lenders today. Basically, how much a bank or a bondholder will charge or will require to lend you money today. Suppose a firm pays a 3% coupon on a loan it made 4 years ago, but the interest rates have increased since then, and if the firm wishes to borrow money today, they have to pay 5% on that loan. So which of these two are a relevant cost of debt for our estimation of the cost of capital? The historical cost of borrowing or the marginal cost of borrowing today? As we talked about it before, we always focus on the marginal cost of borrowing, or how much does it cost for you to borrow money today. What it costs you to borrow in the past is irrelevant for our estimation. This is cost of borrowing 5 years ago, 4 years ago. What we want to know is how much does it cost for us to borrow money today? What is the opportunity cost of lenders today? The cost of debt here is the required return on companies' debt, and we usually focus on long-term debt or bonds. The cost of borrowing long-term or the cost of issuing bonds. Remember, since weighted average cost of capital is usually used for valuation or capital budgeting techniques, and our estimation or our evaluation periods are medium to long term, we will focus on long-term debt or long-term bonds in order to calculate the cost of debt. The required rate of return is best estimated by computing the yield to maturity on the existing debt. So the best estimate for the cost of debt is calculating the yield to maturity of the outstanding bonds of the company. Of course, if you are the insider of the firm, you can go to the bank and ask how much does it cost for you to borrow money, or you can go to the investment bank or credit rating agencies and ask them what is the yield on the bonds if you want to issue the bond today. But from the point of view of the outsider, because we don't have access to that type of information, we can just pick some of the outstanding or existing bonds of the company and calculate the yield to maturity or market rate of return on those bonds today. Remember, yield to maturity is the required rate of return or the yield that you expect to earn if you hold the bond until its maturity. So it's forward looking. When you buy the bond, you know exactly what kind of yield to maturity you receive for that bond. And we may also use estimates of the current rates based on the bond rating that we expect if we issue new debt. But as I mentioned in the previous slide, the cost of debt is not the coupon rate. Coupon rate is historical cost of borrowing. We never use coupon rate as our cost of borrowing. So in our estimations, we use coupon rate to calculate the payment on the bond. That's it. Because the coupon rate determines the income that you receive from the bond. That's not a good estimate for the cost of debt today for the company. We use yield to maturity for that. Again, as I mentioned before, in the previous slide, another way to estimate the cost of debt for a firm is to find a bond rating and then use that as an estimate for the cost of borrowing for the firm. For example, if the company that you're looking at is a BBB rated bond and the Moody's average yield for the BBB rated bond is 5.8%, we can use this as an estimate of the cost of debt for the company as well. But keep in mind that the yield to maturity is still superior and closer to the true cost of borrowing for a firm. Even though this can be close, but yield to maturity is going to be closer to the true cost of borrowing today. Here we have an example. Suppose we have an outstanding bond issued with 25 years left to maturity. The coupon rate is 25 years to maturity. That determines your number of periods. And since the coupons are paid semi-annually, it would be 25 times 2. We have 50 semi-annual periods. The coupon rate is 9%, so your payment on this loan would be 9% times 1,000 over 2 for $45 every 6 months. Today's price is $908.72 and the par value or future value is 1,000. What is the cost of debt? What is the yield to maturity of this loan? Using the inputs, we find that the yield to maturity, IY, the discount rate, the 6-month rate of return is 5%, but since we are looking for yield to maturity, which is an annual rate, we need to multiply that by 2 to get the 10% yield to maturity. So this 10% is going to be an estimate of the cost of debt for the company today. This is the marginal cost of debt. So this is the opportunity cost of lending to your company. This is how much lenders will charge today if they want to give you the money today. I hope you find this video useful and thanks for watching.